Oh, hey, I didn't see you there.
Hey,
Majority.
is that Alex of TurboZone?
Yeah, you like how I added that, Alex? Well, because everybody in the Discord kept calling me Turbo Zone, and I'm like, that's not my name. Like, I don't like that's the name of the channel. I don't like you don't fucking go up to you wouldn't go up to Mark and be like, "Hey, Classic Game Room," because that's the just the name of the show.
Yeah.
So
Hey,
I
if
was
someone
like,
came up to me
I
on the street and called me Majority, I would be honored.
well, that's different though. That's more of like a handle, like an online handle, right? Like TurboZone is not my name. So I was like, I need to fix this. So it's Alex of TurboZone.
Turbo.
Turbo Alex of TurboZone.
Turbo.
What's up, Teddy? How are you today? This fine day.
Thanks for asking. It's been a while since I saw your face and you shaved, yeah.
Yeah, dude, the beard, baby faced Alex today.
Yeah, I didn't shave or anything.
Yeah, you did. I noticed. We're,
Okay.
we're both baby faces right now.
Yes. We are figures from The Godfather.
Goo 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 gaga.
All right, so we're going to whine and wah through our way through this episode.
Yeah. Today we're doing something different. We are just gonna chat about topic, a fun topic. I mean, you could say it's maybe a intellectual episode that we're
A,
gonna discourse on. But this is an episode of the Butt Members. Though. This is going on my channel.
a table topic, if you will, but this isn't an episode of Table Topics. This is going to this channel.
This is like what we used to do way back when we would do stuff on Turbozone.
Way back in the
Where
day,
we
let me
just
paint a
chat about.
picture. We had Donkey Kong Country, 3D versus 2D, fighting games. We just talked.
Wii, Wii U versus C3S. Yeah, yeah. We just had like fun chats, and that's sort of where like this sort of where the butt mappers came from. Is just the idea of just talking it out, fun time,
Hmm.
chatting with the butts. Um, I came to you an
You
idea.
come to me
You come to me
on the
on the
day
day
of the weekend that I relax.
with an idea. I came to you with an idea. I want to just talk about collecting. Something that I think we're both we both have different sides and different opinions on, and we've both been through different aspects of collecting. We're not fighting. I mean, we can. But, yeah, there we go.
All
That's
right.
that's the one. Um, so yeah. Do you maybe want to give like your you go through our histories with collecting? What's your history with like game collecting?
Sure. Obviously, as a kid, I think we most of us get into gaming as kids. I'm sure there are some exceptions out there, but we couldn't just go out and buy whatever we wanted. We had to ask our parents for stuff. And in my household, I would never say I had anything close to the collection I do today. So collecting was not a priority. It was gaming over collecting. I couldn't tell you what happened to the Nintendo 64 boxes that we had because it wasn't a priority at the time. They may be in the attic somewhere. My mom swears that they don't exist. I've gone around looking for them. But the emphasis as a kid was on gaming. As I found myself coming out of college and taking jobs and earning my own money and being able to budget and even sucking at budgeting, I had acquired many games and many consoles, and it's just it did get to a point where I felt it was getting out of hand, and I wasn't allocating the time I wanted to video games, and I was worrying more about prices and stuff like that than I was actually finishing the games. And then combined with this the strenuous nature of YouTube and the emphasis on uploads and putting out content, it made it very difficult. And I had to really step back and reflect a few years ago about what are my priorities with video games and video game collecting. And I had opted to sell more than half of my collection for multiple reasons, financial, but it didn't start out that way. It mostly started as kind of a personal obligation to treasure my video game collection as it was more than I did at the time.
I remember that too, because you would text me and be like, "Today I made this much money off of this game," or it was kind of like I was like, "Wow, he's really doing it."
Yeah. It is
um,
impressive to build up a collection to that point of being able to sell it for just like straight money, you know?
yeah, I did some of that early this year too. I've weeded out some of the collection and I've flipped some games and stuff. So you wouldn't so currently you wouldn't say you're into collecting, or would you?
Well, that depends because it depends how you define collecting. I have a collection. I have a collection of games, even though it's a meager 2.5 shelves here of case and box-based video games. I still have my 64 carts and a couple of my DS carts and Game Boy Advance carts lying around. I still think that if you asked me if I was into collecting, I would say yes. I have most of the Dragon Quest games on DS, but am I always routinely playing them? No. But I'm a more selective collector. I I value the items in my collection with the anticipation of playing them again. I rarely I don't know if there's much I hold on to in my collection that I don't see myself playing again.
That's a cool way of looking at it. Um, do you have anything else to say about your collecting time, or yeah?
I mean, it's just I appreciate it for what it was. I've learned much about myself, and it's served me well over the years. I think there are much worse things to be into than video games, and I think there's the stereotype and of like crazy rich white politicians, lambasting the medium or whatever, and I don't think most of them do that. I think most of the cynical, insane ones do, but. Um, Gaming has been integral to me, and even though the collection comes and goes, the memories stay.
Mm.
What's your history with collecting video games?
I started collecting when I was a baby. I was kidding.
Whoa, Multimaster.
Multimaster's here. So
Multimaster.
no, no, whenever I was younger, same thing. We couldn't go out and buy games. Oftentimes, I would just trade games. Um, I hardly ever sold games though, and when I did, I was kind of like regretful. I was like, why did I sell that? I remember whenever the original Xbox came out, I really wanted a new console, so all my friends were getting Xboxes and PS2s and GameCubes. So I actually sold my PS1 and N64 and all my games I had at the time and got an Xbox, and I really regret that. Because I had some really good stuff on those consoles. I did buy buy some of those games again later on, consoles and stuff. But I think after that point, I never really wanted to like sell my games, and that became an ongoing trend through high school. I had a very sizable collection, and like I said, I would trade with people because in my eyes I was like, okay, eye for an eye. I trade. I still get a game in this place. Maybe it's something I care about more. But I never sold stuff. So I know in high school I had a lot of people that would come up to me and say like, "Oh, your parents spoil you. Look at you and all the games. You're blah blah." And I'm like, no. I was like, I don't get rid of anything. I was just like I've just kept all this stuff. I was like, I was like a lot of these games I've had since I was a kid. I was like, I was like my parents, we weren't like super well off. I was like, I just do what I can and I don't get rid of it. And, I would work and, mow lawns and buy games and do whatever I could that way too. Um, so I would say I was pretty into collecting for a while, especially through my teenage years. I got really into it. Me and a close friend of mine got really into it. So I was collecting like PS2 and whatever else I could find. I got really into collecting games for like Sega Genesis and Dreamcast and stuff at that point. Then through my early adulthood, after I got out of high school, I was really into it. I would collect. I mean, I was collecting everything. I think at one point, I have video of this somewhere. I'll have to put it in one of my shitty episodes. I had a video that I did where I showed off my collection of Wii games. I had like 200 something Wii games. It was just ridiculous. Um, and at that point, buying a game to me wasn't like, oh man, I can't wait to go home and play this. It was like, oh man, I don't have this one, and I could do a review on it someday, and like it'll just be fun to have this. And that's that. It was kind of like the excitement of like going out and collecting. And I always made it a point. I didn't collect games that were like stupidly expensive unless I really wanted them. I always tried to go for cheaper games. That's why I did Wii for a while, because there for a while Wii games were dirt cheap. And no, I always liked doing like just going out and like buying games and stuff. I've recently slowed down on that. I've become more I guess so similar to you. I've become more mindful of like what I buy and why I buy. Um, if I collect anything now, if like I say I actively collect, it would have to just be Sega stuff and Atari stuff because that stuff genuinely interests me and it's just like stuff that I want to have. But like, I don't go out and buy random PS2 and Wii and whatever games just to have them. Like if I buy some of those games, it's because I actively want to play them. And I have cleared off a lot of my collection. I that Wii collection's gone. I have like maybe 30 Wii games now.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I went through a lot of that. I've my collection is not nearly as big as it used to be. But in terms of recent years, I haven't labeled myself as a collector like I used to. I stopped doing that, and I think a lot of that has to do with maybe the environment we're in. I think a lot of that has to do with my taste as a person, as a gamer. But so yeah, that's sort of my history with like collecting.
What I hear you saying is, when you used to collect to the extent that you defined collecting as it was a thrill of the hunt. It was
Hmm.
what can I find for, a couple bucks at a game store and that I could possibly talk about one day. And that taste has shifted. When would you say that shifted for you?
It wasn't too long ago. I would have to say like 20. Fuck, dude. It's hard to say when because I don't like to call myself a collector, but I still do. Like I'd say if I collect anything now, it's like Sega Saturn stuff, So I can't like actually say like, oh, I'm out of collecting. Like where that shifted for me, and I really felt that like I couldn't, that like Thrill of the Hunt was gone was probably 2018, 2019 because now, if I buy games like that, it's online. It's on eBay or something.
Mm. So, do you feel less excitement in the your new means of collecting, or do you prefer this method, or where do you stand with the the ability to collect games in the past year or two?
Well, that's been my issue lately is that I think game collecting is sort of I don't want to say dead, but it's sort of become its own commodity. Um, I think people have become more wise to game collectors, and you see it all the time now. I can't buy anything for the fucking GameCube. You walk into a game store and buy something for the GameCube, you're spending like 50, $60. You go into a game store now and they actively know that people want this old stuff just to collect it, and it's super expensive now. So that aspect of collecting is dead. You can't go in and just buy a cheap game anymore,
Right.
unless it's just some garbage. Um, and the I don't mind shopping on eBay, but the instant gratification's gone. It's like, oh, here I am. I'm gonna buy this, Sega Saturn game on eBay. It's gonna show up a month later. It's like, by the time I get it, I'm like, oh, cool, the game's here. Neat.
I have a completely different take on it, but also before I get to that, I just want to mention, like, with regards to the in-person aspects of collecting, where you can even get games in person. For, the ones I can list, and maybe you can add some more if I'm missing out on any, it's one of three options. GameStop, which,
Fuck 'em, yeah.
fuck them.
They don't. They don't even want to sell games anymore, dude. They're selling like crap now. They're like buy our pop figures and T-shirts and stuff. Oh yeah, we have a game in the back, I think.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing is with the Wii though, like you were saying, collecting Wii games. I used to go into GameStop and just get a handful of Wii games. So it's that aspect is done. You can, like maybe you
Yeah.
could get some PS4 games, but you're still maybe getting like spending $20. But maybe they have a physical one, but they don't have all of them. And and now with the new iteration of consoles and it switching to digital format,
Yeah.
the store is barren. It's empty. You know.
I used to, yeah, I used to go in and spend $30 and get close to 30 Wii games because they were super cheap. And I go to the counter, "Buh, hey, can I get these games?" And
Right.
the cashier look at me like, "Oh my god," because he had to
Yeah.
go through and find all those discs.
Nowadays, the rug doesn't even smell.
Smelly rug's gone.
Yeah, it's not the same. I used to hate going in there. Now it's a different reason. I just feel sad.
Yeah, it's just like, where's the games?
But GameStop's done. I guess two would be like a garage sale, maybe like Goodwill.
Oh god.
I haven't been in a Goodwill in years. First off, people put videos online making it seem so easy to just go into Goodwill and get like a box copy of Earthbound. No, no, that's not how Goodwill works in reality.
I've had some decent Goodwill finds, but they're few and far between. It's always like the last good find I had to have been like 2017, where I found Symphony of the Night and Final Fantasy 9. That was a good find, but other than that, like no, yeah, you're every time I've been in there, it's like, hey, do you want to buy NBA whatever 4K 12 for the Xbox 360? It's like, what?
They have a complete Madden set.
Yeah.
So Goodwill's out. But garage sales, to be honest, any garage sale I go to, it's very rare they have video games, especially like on display. So I just gave up on garage sales. I don't waste my time. And then the last one I guess would be in-person game stores that aren't GameStop. I guess retro game stores, right?
Like mom and pop places.
Right. And I feel like the ones that we have here in New York, this is just my personal experience, are very commercial and do price matching with the online retailers.
They mostly all do that. I mean, I don't want to step on my buddy Ash, but that's how you got to make your money. Is if why would you sell a game for $10 if the other stores are selling it for 30? It makes no sense.
But why would I go into a game store and buy a game for more than I would find the game I'm actually like specifically looking for,
Yeah.
like for less? So the model, and I'm not blaming in-person game stores. Maybe it's just a product of the time, but it's very hard to go to an in-person game store, retro, GameStop, garage sale, whatever, for thrill of the hunt, because quite frankly, 99% of the time, I walk out disappointed. Maybe 99 is a bit high, but I say 90% of the time, I'm disappointed walking out.
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, I have a few mom and pop places, and every once in a while I'll find like a good deal, and I'm like, whoa, holy shit. But yeah, anymore, I think a lot of it, again, like I was saying, I think a lot of that has to do with collecting becomes its own business, and these these businesses, I can't blame them. They, want to stay competitive and want to, do what they can, and they do price match with everybody else, and the value of, you can look on your phone and see what the value of a game is.
When you're in
Not
the
really,
store,
dude, not really a mom and pop place, but back in 20, this is the funniest story. Back in 2016, I had just gotten the Retron 5, and I was looking to buy some more NES games because I had a few NES games, but like not really that many. So there was a few that I was looking for. I went into a local what do you call it, like a flea market, and I was looking around, and there's this guy that had this big glass counter, had some NES games, and in the case he had forgot what it was. It was a super common game. It was a game that's worth maybe like $5. And I was like, "Hey, how much for that game?" And he was like, "Let me look." And he looked at his phone. He was like, $25. or like something like that. It was something crazy, and I know all he did was go on eBay to search the game and see what like some of the people were like paying for it, and he was like $25, and I was like, that's not worth $25. It's like bye, but it was something like I had to. I don't want to say it was like Mario Duck Hunt, but it was like on that level of like a super common game.
Yeah.
Very being like, wow, like I can't like somebody's gonna actually buy this shit from this guy.
Maybe that's if they stay in business, because like you're not building customer loyalty that way. So I don't know. But I guess the reason that I've been so turned off to in-person collecting is because since if 90% of the time I spend time out of my day going to stores to look for games, then I come out of the day after already working and having a job, and then I've got to make dinner. And then what time do I have for game time? Maybe an hour or so. And so the actual act of in-person collecting was interfering with my ability to even enjoy games. Did you
Makes
ever
total
experience something to that extent?
I wouldn't say due to collecting, but I would say, I've definitely had that time, those times where like, just things, things in life are getting in the way of gaming. But I could see during those times, I could definitely see myself being like, well, I'm not going to the store, I'm not going out to shop, It's like I want to stay in and play my game.
I used to drive back from work in Queens when I wasn't living here, and on my drive back, I would stop at Best Buy, Target, and GameStop, or maybe like any combination of the three. And by the time I would get home, it was like 7, 8 o'clock, and I still had to eat. And that's how my collection got to the point where it was. I just enjoyed, and this is, part of this is nostalgia. Part of this is when I was a kid, being taken into that Target store or whatever, the Home Depot, they had like a game section. It was weird. It was maybe some hybrid thing. I don't know. But seeing the games behind the glass casing and be like, one day I want to be able to buy that. And like maybe it's me reliving that, and seeing like now I can and kind of making do and just buying as much as I could. I was filling a hole, but that hole wasn't actually like going anywhere. It's just still a gaping hole. And so in order to address that part of my life, that missed feeling of of being into games as much as I could be, I had to practice mindfulness, to the extent that you said, and really start to just appreciate what was in my collection at the time. I've said, I don't know if I've said this before, I could enjoy a handful of games, and that would be it, and I would be fine with that. The only complication with that is just the thrill of YouTube as well, and putting out content. And the games tie into the making of the content. And so there's this kind of like cycle of everything kind of pulling off one another. It's the content creation, the gaming, and the collecting. And when this aspect interfered with these two, I recognized that, I can cut this out, or at least reduce it to like a minimum, to like where it's just an occasion that I go into a game store. Now I drive home, I drive past Target. I don't even look. I just put on a Button Mappers podcast and I just enjoy that. And that's how I find fulfillment nowadays, as opposed to some kind of superficial box art giving me some kind of delight.
Well, and I would say if you're like super into like gaming on the level that like we are, and buying, enjoying games and enjoying the history of games, I would say at some point as a kid you also felt that feeling of like, oh, I want, I'm going to be able to buy this, or I'm going to get what I want when I'm an adult, I'm going to like we all kind of had that same thought as a kid. I think it's very common. But that could definitely play into part of like why collecting is a thing, because it's like, oh, I can buy whatever I want now. I can collect all these things. But
a lot of grown people addressing economic hardship trauma.
yeah. I mean, part of it for me is I also just like part of like my just to like de-stress. I like what was it called? I forget what it's called, but um, it's like a form of therapy. It's like
Retail therapy.
therapeutic. Yeah, retail therapy.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah, retail therapy. That's a big thing for me. I mean, it's a thing that I've used many times where I'm in a very stressful situation,
Just
and
go
I'm
out
just
and
like,
buy
I'm
some.
gonna go shop. Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna go shop around, and and that's it does help with with the stress, but yeah, again, here I am with a pile of games that I've not gonna finish them. I'm not gonna play them, all the way through. I'm just gonna have them, you know. And I think part of what's also helped me recently, which honestly I would say I fell off around 2018, 2019, but it's funny because we started the Button Mappers 2019, is the fact that the Button Mappers keeps me busy, not even with like the podcast, but keeps me busy with gaming. I know that if I'm playing other stuff, I really only have time for like a game to work on. As a longer game. If it's short. If it's like short stuff, I can just blast through them. But like right now, I'm playing Shin Megami Tensei 4, and
Hell
I
yeah.
know I have other stuff that I have to play for the Button Mappers because we do a map out each month. But and that's not like a problem for me. It's like I'm excited to do that. I'm excited to do those episodes. But I know that I only have time for like another game. So if I put time into anything, it needs to either be the map out episode that I'm working on, or whatever the one game I'm playing in my free time. So I don't have time to go out and buy 50 games because I'm not going to play them. I'm not. They're just going to sit on the shelf. So that's why I think recently it's like I've collected like I mean I haven't even bought any Atari stuff. I've mainly just collected like Sega Saturn stuff because that's just like one thing that I'm really interested in getting because it's a Sega Saturn. I'm the Sega guy. And I can make episodes off of that. It's still kind of that same mentality.
Do you think your recent interest in turn-based RPGs or just long RPGs in general has affected your collecting mindset?
Yeah, definitely. It's made me more mindful. I made the mistake towards the beginning of the year. I made the mistake of buying a bunch of RPGs, and really, really, I wanted to like taste test and see what I wanted to get into. So I bought at the beginning of the year. I bought on Switch. I bought Dragon Quest 11, Fire Emblem Three Houses, Xenoblade Chronicles, Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE. Also bought Skyrim for some reason. That's not really a turn-based RPG, but it is this RPG. And I want to say there was another one. I don't remember. But of those, I kept I kept Dragon Quest. I sold the rest of them. Yeah, and I think part of that was just me like wanting to get into playing some more RPGs. I was like, I'm gonna buy all these RPGs, and I quickly realized like I don't have time to play all these RPGs. It's like, well, shit. I'm just gonna. It's like, well, if I really want to play Xenoblade Chronicles later on, I'll just buy it again. So I was like, fuck it, whatever. So, get rid of them. I'll keep the one that I want to play. Um, yeah, so I think it has affected it. Also, I wanted to mention that I bought a next gen console. I've talked about it a few times now. I
Mm,
bought the Xbox. I bought the Xbox Series S,
yeah.
which is all digital. I opted to go all digital this generation because like I want to escape the mindset of like, oh, it looks great on my shelf. I want to get my shelf looking bit bigger in games. It's like if I just play it on my Xbox, I have Game Pass. I can play games on Game Pass. I buy a game every once in a while on the store, but it's like I could just play games that way, and I don't have to worry about like, oh, I have all my games on my shelf. And I know there's people out there that are into Steam or into whatever, and they're going to comment like Terry or Spencer or somebody. They're going to comment be like, collecting's a waste of time. You could just play whatever you want on digitally. But there's a certain aspect of like seeing the games on your shelf physically, see your collection grow, that I think it's therapeutic in a way, but it also I think it makes you want to buy stuff without really thinking about like why you're buying it. You're
Oh
just
yeah.
like you just want to fill that shelf. I think that's why I went with the Series S because I wanted to escape that for this generation.
Right. And I think that's a good thing. Like that leads to more purposeful collecting instead of just buying to buy to, and I mentioned superficiality before. I think a lot of collecting is superficial. Oh, let me get all the N64 cards. Oh, I want to, complete 3DS library. Why? Who are you trying to impress?
I mean, like I understand like like I did something sort of like that, not like that, not like a complete library, but back in 2016, you helped me. 2016, 2017, I collected every Rareware game for N64. With that, like that's not that many games. It was
Right.
just something very it was like very personal to me.
Yeah.
It was and you
And
mentioned
that
your Dragon Quest.
exactly. So like that's purposeful. To just get everything. I mean, unless you're gonna make a channel called the N64 guy, where you do all things N64, I really don't see, like, I see it as more of perpetuating a trauma than I do like a purposeful act of collecting. And people can disagree with me, and I'm totally okay with that, and I'm totally open to it. But having seen it in myself and seen like how out of hand I can get with spending, going into
Mhm.
stores, spending times, and just being negligent of other aspects of my life, I don't see it as a fruitful labor. The act of
Well,
fruitless collecting. Go ahead.
it's almost like it's almost like kind of addicting too, isn't it? To go in and be like, oh, of course I'll spend $90 on whatever Game Boy games or something, something stupid. It's like it's like
Sometimes I would just
why?
go into these stores. I wouldn't even buy anything. I just look. I would go in all three of those stores. I just look. I just see. And I would spend so much time. And you know who else did that? Like the crazy guy on the street. He would come and he'd just look at the games. And I'd be like, shit. I'm like the crazy guy who's like just walking on the turnpike.
Yeah.
What the hell happened?
So like I think if like and I don't call myself a collector, but I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's true. I think if somebody asked me if I collect, I would say yeah, like Sega stuff, like because that's something meaningful to me, and not like all Sega stuff. I'm not going out and buying like some random Japanese Sega Saturn game that I can't even play. I can't play it. I still want to have involvement with these games and be able to enjoy them. But I think if somebody asked me today, like, what is your purpose in collecting? Like, what do you collect? I would say, oh, I just collect Sega stuff because that's meaningful to me, and it's just stuff that I want to have, and it means something to me. But I'm not at that point anymore where I'm gonna go out and buy everything. I don't need everything. I don't want everything.
Yeah, dude, your Xbox got you covered.
Yeah, yeah. I
Dude,
could
I'm
play. I
jelly,
could
man.
play. Could play on my Xbox. It's good. It's a cool system. I mean, first time. It's funny too because if I would have went back in time and told me from 10 years ago that you're gonna get an all digital system, I would have been like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you buying an all digital? That's stupid." But I don't know. My tastes have changed so much that I'm just like I'm cool with it, man.
Yeah, well, the difference is that they just give you games, and I mean, yes, you pay a little fee, okay, but you have so much at your disposal. Like, how many games can you access with Game Pass?
200 something games.
Okay. So it's modest, but I mean, at the same time, how long will it take you to play 200 games? And of those, like, how many
And
games?
they give you
Right, go ahead.
yeah, sorry, and they give you games with gold each month too. I know there's some people like Terry that would be like, "Well, why would you rent 200 games every month and not be able to play all of them?" And it's like because it's $15. Like I'm gonna spend $15 on one game. I can just spend $15 and play whatever I want. Like
Right.
I've been playing
Hmm.
Yakuza Like a Dragon, and like a few other games. Like that's worth it right there.
Hmm.
You know?
Before we go into a tangent on, yeah, like Game Pass or
Exactly.
whatever,
But
I do think that as long as your collection serves you and serves your needs purposefully and you don't neglect what's important, then that's good for you. And if you ask me what my purpose in collecting is in 2021, I would say it's mostly utilitarian. I would say it's to be useful and to be used and to be loved because, why keep games as some kind of pornographic, visual
yeah,
element when people could be out there enjoying them. That's why I've become more comfortable just bringing them to the laundry room, giving, games, units I'm not using, selling them at modest prices. I usually, I go with like the lowest price on eBay. So, I'm okay to share the wealth in a sense, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I totally understand that, and I've tried to become more open with that, and get rid of games that I'm not gonna play, or I don't, I just have no use for. I went through, I think one of my it might have been my second or third vlog. I went through and cleaned out my PS4 library, and that video it was like I had a lot of PS4 games because I was again I was just collecting PS4 stuff, and I went through it. I was like, I'm never gonna play this again. I have no reason to keep this one, and just I still kept a good majority of them, but still, I was proud of myself for going through and understanding and like being able to tell myself, okay, you don't need this. Like
Right.
you're not gonna play this. Like you don't need this. There's no purpose to have this. Um, so yeah, I think that could just come from age. I've gotten to the point to where I'm almost. I'm in my late 20s. I'm almost 30. uh,
I will be 30.
and
I'm happy about
you
it, to be
know,
honest, but okay.
no, just kidding. No, but and I've again collecting since I was a teenager, and at the point to where what's the point anymore? What's the purpose? And I think that's a question you have to ask yourself at some point: is what is the purpose?
Yeah, and it
You
doesn't
got to kind
have
of
to
find
be
that.
defeatist either. It doesn't have to be that there is no purpose. It's just you need to
Exactly. Yeah.
clarify what that purpose is so you can have a more mindful, purposeful collection. The good thing about it is, there's this phrase in, education. If you have like a Google Doc and it's like you're constantly updating it, you call it a living, breathing document. And in that same sense, the game shelf and the game collection is a living, breathing collection. It's constantly being updated, picked, pulled from, and rotated out. But it is, the reason that you're doing that is so that it serves you at the time as you need it to.
Yeah. Tastes change, things you like change, whatever. Teddy would ask me back in 2015, hey, what are you been playing recently? There's no way in hell I would have told him my 3DS,
Or Dragon
or
Quest
whatever.
11,
Yeah.
SMT4.
Yeah, I would have, so, exactly. Taste change, things you're interested in. So, and I've kind of realized that and been like, am I really going to keep all these PS3 games? Like, am I really going to want to play all these PS4 games? I'm really going to want to play all these Wii games.
I said I will.
But that's my goal is to send Teddy a lot of hot garbage.
Great.
I'm just kidding.
Hey guys, check out my hot garbage collection.
My hot garbage. um, yeah, I don't know. I just kind of wanted to talk about collecting because it's an interesting topic. I mean, it's interesting with the times. Like, obviously, like COVID affected a lot of collecting for people
Oh
too.
yeah.
I mean,
And prices, and
prices
price gouging,
oh
and
my,
in-person
crazy.
shopping, and yeah.
Again, I mean, as much as I would want to collect GameCube, there's no fucking way.
Here's kind of a question: do you think that things will stabilize as far as collecting going forward as the pandemic recedes?
I think it'll implode. I think the bubble will get too big. It'll pop. And a lot of the stuff will go down. I don't know what the supply and demand is of these old games, but I imagine that as the prices keep rising, people are going to lose interest. You know,
So what do you like? Let's just maybe pick one console. What do you think will go up, and what do you think will go down?
my money. I know that you don't particularly think it is, but my money is still on the Wii U. I think the Wii U is going to be stupid expensive given a couple years.
I think 3DS will go up. I think, um, hmm. I think a lot of it will stay similar. N64 will stay similar. I think GameCube will probably keep going up. Just relative to inflation. I think maybe PlayStation 2 will go up. I think PlayStation 3 will stay flat as inflation rises. And I think
We're seeing some
PS4 will go down
PS3's gone up a little bit.
a little
that's one
bit.
that maybe- Yeah, I still think Wii U. I think my money's on the fucking Wii U. That thing's gonna be pricey as hell, dude.
Nah.
Nobody wants it, but it's gonna be pricey as hell.
There will be 5 games that will be pricey on the Wii U. Maybe not 5 exactly, but I mean just, a ratio. Very small. I think
of
like
course,
the Zeldas, but most of this stuff is on the Switch.
I don't know. I think you're gonna get to a point to where if you invest the money into a Wii U and you don't have the biggest budget, all you're gonna be playing is Lego games and Just Dance because everything else is gonna be expensive.
We'll see.
We'll
Meet you back
see.
here
I mean,
in 2 years to talk about the
Yeah.
state of collecting in 2023.
old man mappers, welcome back.
Alex, it's been a
No,
while.
some consoles just keep going up and up. Like again, I collect Saturn stuff, and that console's getting more and more expensive, just aggressively more expensive.
Yeah.
So, it's almost to the point to where if you want to collect North American Saturn games, good fucking luck.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, right? Is how easy is it to make versions that will play on that same unit? Because, or even that collections will have come out. And like, I don't know that people can necessarily make N64 carts, but it's easy enough to clean the pins. Discs rot. So with the disc generations, PlayStation 1 has become like astronomically expensive to collect for. And that generation gets older and older versus the NES carts. Honestly, I haven't seen NES be too expensive to collect for. Atari's always been dirt cheap.
Oh yeah, nobody gives a shit about that. That's why I love collecting Atari because nobody gives. They're like, if you're buying a expensive pricey game on the Atari, you're spending like $20. 'Cause,
Unless you're getting homebrews.
Nobody wants it.
The homebrews are
Oh
interesting.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, that's my prediction.
don't know.
Disc-based media goes up, carts stay flat, except for like the most modern units like PS3, PS4. I think those will be relatively
You said
flat.
3DS is going to go up.
Yeah, I don't know. To be honest,
Technically, we've already kind of seen that with
with
like some of the
Dragon
games.
Quest, I guess. But
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, 3DS is still relatively easy to collect for. So, I don't know. I don't even know what would be like super expensive on 3DS. It's
But
probably
Teddy,
RPGs, you know.
I don't have a 3DS. I have a 2DS.
Hey, that's your new blue 2DS.
Don't ruin the video.
Oh, it's your what is that?
Cheese wedge.
Hey guys. I'm here with Metal Cheeses.
I'm here with my hidden gem, a Hot Wheels World's Best Driver.
He's going to eat the cart. He's going to confirm if it tastes like cheese. What did it taste like?
Disappointment that they couldn't make a better racing game.
Damn. I'm going to go goat cheese on that one.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on talking about collecting.
My pleasure. Always happy to be a part of the zone.
My friend Teddy.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Even though technically this is coming out before our other projects that we've been working on.
Before our
That we
slew
recorded.
of content. Jesus, we
It's
just
just
have so
like-
many freaking videos. Like, it's about to just pour on you guys. Like, I don't know if you're ready for this. It's gonna be like a
Don't put-
turbo zones.
Don't
button
put the
maps.
expectations on me. I have to edit stuff. I don't want.
You guys are you're getting a lot of Alex and Teddy. Just saying.
Alex and Teddy.
Yeah.
It's a classic.
Yeah.
You want some Pepsi?
I'll
Drink
have
Pepsi.
some majority.
You want to give it a king? Oh, it's got Kirby on it.
Hell
That's
yeah.
cute. It's just Dave and Buster's. I was gonna drink out of a Sonic glass, but I really like this orange Dave and Buster's glass for some reason, so I grabbed it.
What's your favorite arcade game at Dave & Buster's, or thing to play at Dave & Buster's?
Ooh, that's a good question. Last time I was there, I played a few really cool games. They had a new House of the Dead game that was awesome. You know what really took it though? They have a new Daytona. And I was playing fucking I was like Daytona, and it was like a new updated version of Daytona. I was super excited.
Daytona. Let's ride away.
I mean, it had other,
Ride away.
let's ride Daytona. So that was great.
Hell yeah.
Bye.
Later. We'll see what the collection's at next year.
I have 2 games.
Rocket Power and Bubsy.
Bugs Life and Bubsy.
You've come a long way.